Jamie Hall is the Chief Sustainability Officer at Zenergi, an energy consultancy with a difference. The team believes in working together with customers to support their energy cost and sustainability objectives. Zenergi launched its social value strategy in 2022 to address the challenges we collectively face, with commitments focused across 4 key pillars: planet, people, community, and customers. Welcome, Jamie. Can you just start by telling us a little bit more about Zenergi, what you do and the sectors in which you operate?
Yes, of course, Georgie, and pleasure to be here today. So at Zenergi, we're an energy and sustainability consultancy. So we support customers with, traditional utilities management. So that's about making sure that you've got the right contract, you're paying the right amount, the terms and conditions are correct, and ultimately you're being charged correctly by, the energy suppliers, and that's across gas, electricity, water, and telecoms. But we've also got an engineering division where we help customers with everything from remaining compliant right through to writing the strategy and then everything kind of in between. So making sure that customers are in a position to lower costs, reduce consumption, reduce emissions, and ultimately to become more sustainable. And we work across the public sector, so we support schools, hospitals, and local authorities, but we also help a range of private sector customers as well.
You recently launched your social value strategy. Can you tell us a bit more about what you're doing and the impact that it's having?
Yeah, of course. So when we think about our impact at Zenergi, we've got, I guess we're fortunate enough to have a couple of opportunities to make a difference. So as I just explained, our day job is spent helping other organizations to save money, reduce consumption, lower emissions, and to be more sustainable. But then when we think about our own business and our own operations, we knew we had to lead by example. So as you said on the intro, we launched our own strategy, a social value plan called Powering a Sustainable Future earlier this year. And what we've got there is 24 commitments spread across the 4 pillars that you mentioned. So what we're doing for our people, what we're doing for the planet, how we're helping the communities which we operate within, but also then what we're doing to help our customers as well. And those commitments are kind of spread in 3 areas. So we've thought about it. What are we doing in the short term? And that's kind of within the first 12 months of following the launch. What are we doing up to 2025? So that's our midterm objectives. And then thinking a bit further out, what are we going to get? What are we going to do? And what ambitions do we have, taking us all the way out to 2030?
What have you learned on the journey so far?
I think the first thing I'd say is it's a marathon, not a sprint. So I think it's key that you try to strike a balance between being bold and being reckless. So don't overcommit would be my first point. I'd also say give your stakeholders and your teams a chance to shape and own its delivery. There are bound to be lots of willing participants across your organization and across your stakeholder network, so do get them involved. And then finally, I'd say collaboration is key. So you're not alone. You don't have to be an expert in everything, and you don't need to self-deliver it all. So work with like-minded organizations, share expertise, share experiences, and ultimately help one another to go faster.
What challenges have you overcome, and what benefits are you seeing?
Well, from a challenges perspective, I think given the industry that we operate within, we're fortunate enough to have plenty of experienced and engaged stakeholders across the organization, which we can't deny has been a huge help for us. But I think that in terms of a challenge, I think time would be the biggest challenge, because ultimately it is a commitment. You're making these public commitments, and you need to follow through with a credible plan and the evidence to show that you've done what you said you would do. So that does take time, and ultimately that's something that is an investment that you need to consider. In terms of the benefits, we've covered quite a lot of ground, seeing as we've only launched 7 or 8 months ago. So when we think about the pillars that we mentioned around planet, we've committed to a science-based target to get to net zero for scope 1 and 2 by 2025. We've switched some of our key offices over to renewable energy contracts, and we've deployed an app for our teams to manage carbon emissions at home and work. In the people pillar, we've committed to being a real living wage employer. We've hired the first 10 of our 100 grads, which is a commitment that we made, and we're improving reporting around key subjects like diversity and inclusion and equality. When we think about the community pillar, we actually did our first company-wide volunteering day, which was great fun. And we've partnered with 3 charities and have started to raise money through a series of events for those charities. And then finally, with the customer pillar, we've been working with our clients to achieve net zero. And there's lots of customers that we're working with on that journey. But we're also in a position where we work with thousands of schools across the country, and we've been working to educate the kind of future generations, the future emitters, through that kind of network. So there's lots been going on.
Why should organizations invest in social value?
First and foremost, George, I think it's the right thing to do. You think about the challenges facing the world right now, whether it's climate change to inequality and poverty. It's no surprise to hear that those who can do something are willing to do it. And that doesn't need to be, that can be a big or small contribution, but, it's important that people do something. Secondly, I'd say when you think about, your purpose as an organization, it's a bit of an opportunity really to think about kind of what you stand for and why your organization exists beyond just making a profit. And I think that's something, that organizations should really kind of take seriously and think about. And then finally, from a practical perspective, we know that sustainable businesses are proven to be better businesses. They're more profitable, more risk averse, and ultimately more investable. So there's definitely an act now or get left behind kind of theme to this as well.
With that in mind, what advice do you have for any companies that want to get started?
I start with engagement. So, think about materiality, speak to your stakeholders, talk to your teams and find out what's important to them and build your plan around that. As I mentioned earlier, to kind of don't bite off more than you can chew on day one. Think about it as a long-term project. Be ambitious, but also realistic. So organize your plan around manageable short, medium and long-term goals. And then learn from others. So seek advice from professionals or talk to organizations that might be further down the journey than you, and seek out those kind of partnerships and opportunities to collaborate, as I mentioned earlier.
Why is engagement so important when thinking about social value?
I'd say ultimately your success depends on it. You need your people to own it, and they can help to shape it. But ultimately, this will be onto your teams to own and deliver the plans and the commitments. So, and that's at all levels of the organization, from the boardroom to the shop floor. So that's the first thing I'd say. And ultimately, you can see sustainability as a change management or a transformation project that's going to pull on all parts of your organization. So you need those organizations, those parts of the business, to work together to make sure they're aligned. So communication is important. When you're thinking about changing ways of working, it could be everything from finance to HR to operations. It's important that all of those pieces of the jigsaw are kind of joined together and are moving in the same direction all at once.
There are many challenges facing businesses at this moment in time. How can being more sustainable help? Why should it be a priority?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I think one of the key things is, ultimately, there are many studies that have been done to prove that sustainable organizations are more profitable and better run businesses with that kind of long-term thinking. But if we think about some of the challenges here and now, with record levels of employment, the battle for talent is intensifying, and social value can be a key way of, enhancing your employee value proposition. When we think about kind of resilience, businesses of all shapes and sizes are facing challenges at the moment. So what a social value strategy can do is help you to think about your materiality, can help you to think about risk. And it kind of forces you to think, longer term about, key areas within your business. So your supply chain is a good example of that. Is it resilient? Are you working with the right partners? And so on. So, and then finally, I think kind of from a reputation perspective, kind of looking beyond just kind of standing still and remaining competitive, social value can help businesses to improve or change perceptions, whilst also acting as a key differentiator. And we know that ESG reporting is tightening and fast becoming the norm. So companies, do need to act if they're going to remain attractive to their stakeholders and investors, and to ultimately stand out from the crowd.
Jamie Hall from Zenergi, thank you so much.